Thank you so much for joining today's webinar where we're going to go through the slot request walkthrough. Apologies for that. That's a scam call. But thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar. We're going to go through the slot request walkthrough today. We're going to give everyone just a couple of minutes to join in. We do have about 28 people registered, and so far we only have 7. So sit tight while we wait for everyone to join us. We'll get started in a few minutes. Today's presentation will be presented by Beck Rothke. And I do want to call out that while we shared the presentation slides with you yesterday, those have been updated. And I want to ask that you please hold on for just a couple of minutes. There is one minor change I need to make to the presentation. So I know there is an attachment section on the GoToWebinar control panel where you can download those handouts. Just give me 2 minutes and I'll go ahead and link one Help Center document that is very useful for you all. So just sit tight. We'll get the most up-to-date attachment, which will be what we'll cover today. As usual, you all know that if you have any questions, you can put those in the questions box. I will be monitoring those throughout the presentation, and I'll stop periodically to announce any questions that might be useful for everyone to hear. You are all on mute, but you are more than welcome to raise your hand if you have any additional questions you'd like us to check out in the questions box. All right, so just a few more minutes and we'll go ahead and get started.
Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us for the version 4 slot request walkthrough webinar. Today we've got about half of the people that registered, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name again is Beck Rothke, joined today by Rocio, and she's going to help us with fielding questions, and she of course is the creator of all these wonderful slides that we're seeing today. So we are happy to have you here and happy to share the content with you today. As Rocio said before, but if you weren't here, you are on mute, and that's how the webinar starts out. But we can unmute you if need be when it's time for questions and answers. You're also able to raise your hand or put any sort of questions into the chat box, or not in the chat box, into the questions box. Questions box will be answered as we go through the webinar. And if there's something that we need to hold off on because we know we're going to cover it in a couple of slides, we'll hold off until it's time to answer it, because sometimes things are getting answered just not immediately right away. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the webinar. And Rocio's got some other updates that she's doing to the presentation, so she will be joining us. Well, she's here too, but she's just a little bit quiet right now. Okay, so slot request walkthrough. Let's go first into the agenda of what we'll be doing today. We're going to talk about how to prepare for the slot request, and that's really looking at your personnel and your sites and all that stuff. We're going to talk about the slot request configuration, so how to configure the slot request. We're going to look at how the site sees the slot request, so just to give you an idea of how your sites are going to receive it and what they'll do when they get it. We'll also be talking about how to send the emails, and then some next steps to get to going forward. So before you begin, you have to prepare for your slot request. And for that, we recommend that you review who is going to receive the March mailing, because obviously that's important to know. You want to ensure that at least one recipient is listed for each clinical site or clinical site location within Exact. And then you're going to use our handy reports in order to review and make changes to those recipients lists. So one of those handy reports is found in our sites section. You'll go to sites and reports, and there's like a report called Location Details Report. That report is going to give you a list of all of your locations, the corresponding site, the state, the associated personnel, and how many there are in that particular spot, and then whether or not the site is active or inactive. There are many other columns to this report as well, but we recommend that you use the Edit Columns feature that's at the top of the page. You can also use the funnel if you're looking for only active sites or only sites in particular states or whatever. But the Edit Columns will allow you to kind of narrow in on the most important columns for this particular report that you're looking for. Oops, I need to do. Wait, hold on 1 second, guys. All right, there we go. So that's the location details. There's the location, there's the personnel location details report. This is under the same area. It's just under personnel instead of location. So it'll say, sites reports, and then personnel location details report. And again, you're going to see this actually a little differently because you're going to see it by person and not by site or location. So the personnel is going to be in the first column, and then all the other ones that you might need to use are after that. So it'll show you the email address for that person, the associated location names, and the designation of that person. You can also see in the slot request column whether or not that person has been selected to receive the slot request. You can make any changes then by clicking on the name of the person that's in the personnel column, and that will allow you to edit whether or not they receive or don't receive the slot request. Again, there are lots of columns already in this report. You're going to want to use the edit columns or the or the filter feature to narrow down the information that you're looking for. Let's go to the next slide here. Okay, so other ways that you need to prepare for the slot request are going to be more about your session creation and your course offerings, etc. So some things that you might need to do to prepare for that would be to add a new cohort if it's not in there yet. So even though you might have a class of 2025 with no students in it, you could still add that cohort just like we did in version 3. If you used version 3, we would add a batch beforehand. So that's something that you want to do. You're also going to create course offerings if need be. That's basically you've already created the course catalog possibly, and you'll need to add the courses that go with that particular catalog offering, and then you'll need to go and create the rotations, because those are going to show the dates. So these are very important in order to be able to select the correct rotations that you'll be sharing with your sites in the March mailing, and that's how you request what you want. So to add a new cohort, just in case you don't know or we haven't gone over it before, or it's changed since the last time you looked, you're going to go to program details, which is over on either on the hamburger menu or on the front page, I believe. And you're going to click on program information, and then you're going to see the ability to click on something that says student cohorts, and you're going to be able to add a cohort. It doesn't ask for a whole lot of information, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what it does ask for. So it asks for the class name. It asks for the group if there is one. They might not have a group. You might just leave it blank, or you'll call it all students. You can put in the enrollment term, that's when they start, and then the graduation term, that's when they end. So the term is referring to when they start, what term they start and end in. So that's a good way to keep track of that information, and then you'll click the save button. In terms of the course offerings that I mentioned earlier, that's something that you're going to put into the curriculum section. This is a bit new. If you onboarded to version 4 prior to the curriculum section being added, you might not know about this particular feature, but it's pretty easy. So you're going to go over to the curriculum on your left hamburger menu, or on the front here, on the front dashboard, and you're going to click on Add Course Offering. Because it does land on the course offering page. That's all you'll have to do. If it's not yet in your catalog, there is one extra step that we can go over if you're confused. But you'll click on Add Course Offering. It's going to open up a nice little drawer here where you can select the cohort, select the term it occurs during, which professional year it happens during for that particular group of students, the academic year, and then you'll see the course here. Now, if the course is not here, that means it's not added to the course catalog, or it was added to the course catalog and not marked as a clinical experience, which, again, we can go over that. If you have that difficulty, let us know. If you haven't had your one-on-one yet, it's something that we can go over in the one-on-one meeting too. So again, this is how you do this page. And I'm going to go on to the next slide. The last thing you'll need to do, of course, is set up the rotation. This is where the dates are going to happen. So once you've added it to the course offerings page, you're going to come over to the placement section, and you're going to go into the setup. So when you get to the placement section, it's going to land without a cohort and without, it's going to land on the placements tab. So you'll need to go to the setup and then also select the cohort that you're trying to set up the rotation for. So those two steps are important. If the the page will be blank at first, so don't panic if that's the case. You just need to click on the setup and the cohort. Once you do that, it's going to ask for some additional information. So you'll click on Add Rotation. It'll be at the top of the page, and it's going to open up a screen where you'll say, the title of that particular rotation. My best practices here are just to name it the same thing as it's named in the course offerings. Don't try to get too fancy. But you could also call it, you could put another, like you put 2023 after it, but it'll be pretty clear that it's for that particular year. And then you'll select the start and end date. If there are more than one start and end date, you can certainly add more through the setup advanced schedule. But if there's just one, go ahead and just put one in there. Minimum weeks, and then you'll select weeks. That's the only time segment you'll see it there for now. And then you'll select the course that it applies to. So we can see this Clinical Practice 3, TPT 900, and that's how it's set up there. Yeah, here's an example of what it would look like if you did add another schedule. And then this other thing that happens at the bottom of the page is kind of important. This is a newer feature as well, but not super new. But if you haven't set this up in a while, then you haven't seen it yet. So one of the things you can see towards the bottom of this drawer is the ability to collect supervisor percentage per clinical instructor, supervision percentage. So a lot of people use this feature to create an email that thanks the CIs for their involvement in clinical education. So it feeds off of a form that the student fills out when they're first adding the clinical instructor. It just asks the percentage of supervision. Sometimes it takes a little explaining to the students what that means, but it basically is a way for the student to say, okay, I'm working with one CI and they're 100% of my time. It only really becomes a problem if if the student is working with more than one CI and they might not know, if it's a 60-40 or a 50-50 split. Sometimes students do get confused about this particular question though, because they think, well, how much do I need to be supervised? Am I being independent or not? And that is not what the question's about. So a little bit of student education about that is helpful. Another thing you can do here is decide whether or not you want the students to see other students that are placed there during the same time period. So this isn't every student that's ever been placed. It's only the students that are there at the exact same time. So that's helpful if they're going to be out of town, or if they're trying to arrange rides and maybe there's a bigger program and they haven't talked about it yet. So you can keep that as a yes or no. And that's completely up to you. The other one is external resources. So this page is actually called Site Resources now. If you want the site to see this this course, rotation and dates on the Site Resources page, you'll turn this on, and that makes it available to the sites to see. They'll see something called a schedule, and it'll show on that page. Other questions that you'll have to answer that you can actually skip if you don't want to answer them is the clinical hours. So this is how many clinical hours this particular course takes up. It all works into this percentage of supervision if you're trying to give the CI in the thank you email a list, a percentage of how much the total number of hours they work with the student. Those things work together. So if they worked 100%, then they got 240 hours. There's also a place to put in how many CEU credits that would count for. I know that sort of changes from state to state, but this is something, if you do want to record it, you can put it in there. Finally, on this particular page, this is again adding the rotation, you're going to see that there's a way to put some rotation notes. These are seen by the site, and they're seen by the site actually when they are looking at the slot request page and offering slots. There'll be like a little word bubble. They'll click it, and then they'll see these notes. So if you want them to know something about the course, or if you're asking for a particular sort of rotation, like if it's like a particular setting for this particular course, you might want to put some notes in there so they can see that. I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions so far in terms of that, all that content so far.
Not seeing any questions back.
Okay, perfect. And I can see that you've updated the presentation, so if anybody needs to take a look at that or download it, now's a good time if you want to have it. And then we'll just go right into the configuration of the slot request itself. So let's dive right into that. So slot request configuration occurs through sites. So you're going to go to your sites menu either through the hamburger or the dashboard, and it's going to take you to this. The top of the page will look like this, and you'll just click on emails because it's about emails. And there's several that you can do through this page, but this is if you want to do the slot request or the update site information one. And then you'll see the ability to set up a new communication. And so you'll go ahead and click on that. If there's one you've already begun and you want to go back to it, you can use the edit pencil for that particular one. But let's assume this is brand new. So what's going to happen is this drawer will open up and it's going to ask you to put in a title. The title is required. This can be included in the email that you receive, that the site receives, or you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but there's a place that you'll see when you're configuring the actual email that the site receives where it asks you if you want the communication title in there. And if you do, this is what it means. So it can be included in the email. Once you fill this part out and then select the add-on activity called request slots, all you need to do is click the next button. And that takes you to the page where you're going to make some decisions about what your sites are going to see. So obviously this is the slot request, so it's going to ask you to request some slots, and it's going to have a place for you to put that here. You'll be able to choose rotations. You'll be able to make some decisions about these other parts too, which we'll go over in more detail in the next slides. Okay, so let's start with the request slots part. So request slots is going to basically give you the ability to select the calendar year and then any clinical experiences that are attached to that calendar year or rotations. You don't have to select them all, obviously. You can just select the ones you want to use. Once you do that, you'll click Save, and it'll take you back to the page of the main configuration page. This is a kind of a detail of what a close-up detail of if you did have some rotation notes. That's what that's going to look like. So it'll look like a word bubble. The site will click it and they'll see this. If you are here and you've already saved, you've already chosen some rotations, but then you decide, oh, wait a second, I don't want to use that rotation anymore. You can just use the trash can to remove any of those rotations that you might need to remove. So I'll give you a chance to do that pretty easily. The next section is about the slot confirmation and how you want to work with that. So we have the ability to send out a slot confirmation email, and that email goes right to the clinical site or the person that is interacting with the slot request, whoever it is, the SCCE or administrator of that particular site. And if you have this turned on, they'll receive an email that tells them what they gave you or what their response was to the slot request. So that's what that does. Contact later for slots basically is an automated email that goes out from the system that sends an email out to the recipient, to the SCCE, reminding them that they said, hey, call us later, and it just automatically goes out to them, so you don't have to remember to contact them later because the system does it for you. So these are the two features here. Now, if you're not sure about this one yet, or you want to talk about it some more, you can just turn it off. But it is automated, and it is based on what they selected when they selected to be re-notified. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide. This is an example of the email we're talking about with regards to the automatic email that they received that shows them what they offered. So basically, it's going to give them a table of their responses and lets them know, obviously here we've got slots available, contact later, no response. So it's giving them the overall response, and then it shows like if they've offered any slots, how many they've offered, what kind, and all that stuff. So really helpful. I know that sites have expressed how much they like this particular email, at least in version 3. I'm sure in version 4 it's also going to be appreciated because the sites can then keep a copy of this and then file it away so they know what they've offered for that particular experience. All right, so I'm going to go to the next slide. Maybe. There we go. The contact later for slots follow-up looks like this. So this is a sample contact later email. And what it does is it just, tells them that this is the day that they said they wanted to be contacted. And then there'll be a there'll be a site name here, and then there'll be a link here for them to get back into the system to go ahead and follow up and give you the slots or respond in whatever way they need to respond. So that's what that email looks like when they receive it.
And I will make a note that for both of those emails, I know that for users who used to be on version 3, they were able to customize those. We have not developed a way for you to go in and customize these emails on your end, but if you look at those samples and you'd like to reward them or change the verbiage on them, that is possible, but you'll have to contact support to make those your templates.
Yeah, thanks. That's a really good point, Rocio. So yeah, they are what they are right now. They can be changed, but support will have to do the changes for you for now. There will eventually be a front end capability for that, but it isn't ready for this year yet. So the other part of this configuration page for the slot request is allows you to enable or disable the ability for sites to add slots without selecting location. Now, this is a kind of a feature in version 4 where they can actually say they've got slots to offer, but they don't know where yet. And so basically, if you don't want them to do that, you'll have this turned off. And if you do want them to do that, you'll have it turned on. So it's it's up to you what you want to do with that. I know that a lot of people appreciate the feature, so I'm kind of just pointing it out. All right. So I'm going to take a look at what this looks like. So this is what the site is seeing. And it's going to welcome them on one page. Did I skip a slide? No, I did not. And if it's turned on that they can give you locations outside of just a specific location, they're going to see something like this. So it's going to say, the name of the site and then the location not yet decided. They'll click that add availability to that particular one. If it's turned off, they do not see that ability. So they just see the site name that's here, and they won't see the ability to add for other locations. So that's what the site sees if you have that enabled or disabled. Going back to the configuration, we've got a couple of things here. So the school contact is a way for you to choose people that should be seen by the school, by the site, and it's going to show the users that are added within faculty and staff, and those faculty and staff also have to be not only added but enabled to be seen by sites through the site resources page. So there's a couple of different steps for this. You'll have to go into the faculty and staff section of Exat, which is accessed through the left menu or the dashboard, and then make sure that the people that you want to show on the page are here, and then that they're enabled to be shown on the site resources page. And then when you get back over here, you'll click whether or not you want them to be shared. So this means that the site would see the person in the contact information section. And then if you would like to receive the copy of the confirmation email, that acknowledgement that the site's getting, you'll go ahead and click on the envelope. If it's green, that means you're receiving it and you're being shared. If it's white, it means that you are not. So kind of just a little bit of FYI there. All right, and if we need to go over how to update that later on, we can absolutely do that. When you click on the little contact card that's next to the person's name, you'll be able to see exactly what the site's going to see about you. The name, your title, email address, and phone number. So that's what that looks like when that is set up. And again, that's done through the faculty section. All right, so here's another sample email of the availability confirmation for clinical rotations. So this is what you'll see when you get it. It just says sample site has responded to the slot request, and then you'll see the summary. So it's basically what same thing that the site is receiving. Very, very similar. Okay, so when the site receives the slot request, they also have a place to view the school contacts. This is showing up in the site's right-hand side of the slot request, right above the rotations. So they're not going to see you displayed until they click on the view school contacts, and then they'll see the people that are marked to be shown. So it's not like the first thing they see, but if they click on the view school contacts, they will see it then. there's also the ability on the configuration page to add any sort of instructions or documents. You'll see at the very bottom, it'll say instructions and documents. The pencil is there for you to add any of those or edit any of them if you already have some. And this space is good for thanking clinical partners, reiterating any details that you've mentioned in the email. You could also attach a paper slot request form. And where this shows up for the sites is directly on the very first page when they click on the link in the email. So it's kind of a good place to sort of introduce your sites to what your process is or what you're looking for. People do tend to use this as a way to welcome the site to the landing page into the exec system. So it's good for that for sure. You'll see the ability here to go ahead and add paragraphs, and you can use the bold, and you can make paragraphs. I think you can do other headers and stuff like that. And then you'll be able to also attach a document here. If you click the browse to upload, it'll just take you to your computer to upload a document. If you've attached something that you don't want here anymore, like if it was the wrong one or you updated it, just click on the garbage can, and it'll allow you to delete that document that's already there. One thing I will note is that the bold is here. It will bold when the site sees it, but it won't look super bold to you when you look at it here. So don't be disturbed if you actually hover over the text that you've bolded. It will show as bold. You'll see that the bold gets lit up right here, but it won't look very bold on the page. Once you've updated the instructions, you can click save, and that takes you to the main page where you can see everything again. So you can see the instructions are right here. And let's go to the next thing. Okay, so once you've saved everything, it takes you back to the landing page where you can see all of the different emails that you've set up through this site's email section. In order to edit a currently email that you're working on, you'll use the pencil, and then it'll take you right back into the section where you we're looking at, basically the place we just were, to configure that further. So this configures the slot request, this pencil. If you're ready to select recipients and write the email, you can click on send emails, and it takes you to a process that we'll be going over in a bit, where you're actually sending the email out. And then these two things, email dashboard and response report, they're grayed out for now because the email has not been sent. So these will be grayed until you've actually sent the email, and then they will be a darker gray. they'll look different after you've done that. So they're light gray right now. They're darker gray when you've actually sent the email out. And we'll go over what these look like as well. We're going to look at what the site sees next, and anybody have any questions that we need to address before we get to that point, Rocio?
No
Okay.
questions.
All right, cool. All right, so let's look at what the site sees. First of all, they get the email from you, and that's going to have the email that you put in. It'll have, if you want it to, your logo, and then just this customized email, whatever you want to say, and it's going to have a link. That link is the key to getting them to the page that will allow them to add slots. So once you click that link, once they click that link, it takes them to the landing page. And so your program logo will be at the top here. They're going to see our logo here, and then this is the instructions that you had filled out for them. So this is just telling them anything they want to see. You can obviously explain or use, if you want to use the text that we put in here, you can use some of that too. The documents that you've uploaded are going to show up right underneath the instructions box, and they can click on that to view the document right in the browser. When they're ready to go to the next page, they're going to click start, and that's going to allow them to, see how the configuration was created for them. So we've got this list of sites, and they're going to see a lot of sites. Sometimes they'll see just a few. In order to add availability for a particular location, they can click add availability. They can also say not sure yet or unable to accept a student, and that will give them the ability to do that. Here they can see the rotation details. And again, if they click on this little bubble, they'll see the rotation notes. So let's go to the next step to see what it looks like when they do click on add availability. So they're going to be able to choose the rotation when they get to this. So there'll be a drop down, and they'll click on the rotation they want to add availability for. They can add a clinical instructor if they want to, a setting, and the number of students. The only required fields on this particular form are the rotation and the number of students. They don't have to put in a setting if they don't want to. They could say not known at this point, or they can select a setting. Once they've done that, this will be grayed out until they've filled in these two major fields, and then they'll click save, because it'll turn purple at that point. It won't be purple until they've done the required fields. Once they have added this, they'll see what they've given, and they can use the pencil to go back and edit or delete the slots that they started to offer. So like if they look at it and like, oh wait a sec, I meant to do a different one. Pencil's fine. They'll click on the pencil. They'll be able to change it. And this is what it looks like when they're changing it. So they'll either use the garbage can to delete it if it's completely wrong. They could also change the start and end dates, and then any of these other things. So that's what they're seeing. It's similar to what you see actually on your side when you're editing a slot. Okay, if they're not sure of their availability yet, and they want you to call them later, what they're going to do is they're going to select this, not sure yet, and they'll be asked to request a date from one particular location. The other thing that they could do is they might not be sure for any of their locations yet, because maybe there's some staffing questions. So they'll have to click on this if they're not sure for every single page. So let me make that point a little bit more clear. This is about this one particular site or location. This is about all the locations that they see on the page, and I don't know how many load onto the page offhand. I can't remember, but all the locations per page, they'll have to select this every page. So kind of an important point to point out for that particular, if they decide to do it that way. So that's what they would click then. They could also say unable to accept the student. They could mark it for one particular clinical site, and that's what they've done here. And if they're doing it for all of them, they would just have to do this. And again, it's everything on that page. It's not everything that belongs to them. But so that's again, that they'll have to click that, and it will mark all the sites on that particular page to not receive that they can't take any students. Okay. This is what it looks like after they've sort of filled everything out. So you can see that they've offered slots for one here. There's one over here that they said call later, and then you can see basically all the details that they do see here. Once they've finished that, they can click next, and this is where they review and submit it. So they can look it over. They can go back to the previous page if they want to make any edits, or they can submit this, and this is what will trigger well, two things. One, this message, and two, the email that goes out to them if you've selected that email to go out to them that says, hey, thanks for these slots, or thanks for responding to the slot request. I'm going to go ahead and pause here again to see if there's any questions about the site view.
No questions. You've already covered them back.
Okay, perfect. So the next thing that you'll do is just schedule those emails. So you've configured everything. You know what it's going to look like. You've got your courses set up. You've got your rotations in there. Now you're ready to send those emails out. So one thing you're going to do is you'll go back to sites and emails. So you've already configured it. So now you can go to this send emails part, and it's going to take you to the recipient list. So let's go to that. You'll see the recipients list. It's going to show you the sites and the locations first in the first column in alphabetical order. So you can use that to go through each location, and you'll have to put a check mark if you would like that particular rotation to receive the slot request. You could use the filter here if you're trying to filter for some kind of a particular group of sites that you're looking for. Maybe you've tagged certain sites with your site tagging ability, or maybe you're looking to just ask for certain states or whatever. So you'll use this filter in order to basically check off the things that you're looking for. Let's take a look at what that filter shows you. Um, so this is when you click the filter button, it shows you these different things that you can filter by. So location area would be whether or not that location was in area, out of state. You can go to the state and select certain states that you want to receive the slot request. The personnel's email preference. This is the filter that's already applied. It's anybody who's marked to receive the slot request. And then location status is active or inactive. Any site tags. So if you have tags, you can use that to select certain tags. Location tags are often different than site tags, so you can use that to filter for those. Location settings, and then site status. So if you're filtering for something, make sure that you apply, and then if you're selecting from the list after applying that, make sure that you save the selections before removing any other filters, because you can actually filter for some things and then remove the filters, and as long as you've saved the recipients, the filter will not affect anything. But if you haven't saved it, then you'll have to do it again. So that's what wanted to point out there. We do recommend that you filter for active sites only, so that you don't have to unselect or whatever, worry about any inactive sites or locations being selected. So again, that's over here where you see location status and site status down at the bottom. So that's going to give you active or inactive as the choices when you go to those on your filter or your funnel, whatever I would call it. Okay, so now that we've done our filter and we know which sites we want, you're going to go down this recipients list and select them. You can do a select all. New this year is that you can select 75 per page instead of 30, which is a nice help. I know that some of you have lots and lots and lots of sites, so it's still a bit of a manual effort for you if you're looking to, use all your sites in this particular slot request. But it's definitely how you do that. And I totally skip what this actually says, so that's my bad. But this is if you're not seeing people that are supposed to be here, you can click the pencil, and that will allow you to edit who is going to receive the slot request, or like if maybe it's not supposed to be Aaron after all, you can use the pencil to change that. So once you click the pencil, it's going to bring you to the list of people that have email addresses that you could send the slot request to. So right now, Nettie is the person who's set to receive the slot request, but maybe you wanted to also go to one of these CIs. Possible if you want to. And then once you do select that, you'll click update. This is not a permanent change, though. It's only for this particular send, basically. So once you try to send a different email to your sites like this, you'll have to do the same thing unless you change it within the personnel's email preference section. So good to note that. I'm going to go ahead and click on the next. Every time you select recipients on any given page, make sure that you're clicking Save Changes. It's really, really important that you do that. Otherwise, you might have spent a lot of time, carefully selecting people on this page, and then if you click the next button or this button, it won't. Well, it'll save it then if you did that. But if you go to one of these other pages, it won't have saved the changes that you made previously. So that's really important to remember. Now, when you're going through your recipients list, the most efficient thing to do is to select the people on this page and go to the next page, click save, and go to the next page. So that's going to take you to each page of recipients. So kind of note that. If you do click save and next, it'll just save what you have and take you to the the compose email page, and you'll have to click previous to get you back there. So if it's not the end of the world if you click save and next, it's just less efficient. So again, we click save and we just click save and next. It takes us to the kind of the overview of how many people have been selected, how many sites and locations have been selected. If for some reason you're like, oh wait, I need more, that's not the right number, you can click the previous button or click on select recipients. It will take you back to the previous page. If you are good with this number and you're like, yeah, that looks right, you can click the compose email, and it's going to take you to the next page. But one thing we will say is we recommend that you not complete this task until February 24th, because there'll be because we would like you to give it a little more time to make sure all the recipients are selected. So you can certainly look at the email. You don't have to necessarily wait. I think you should probably look at the email, but we don't really think you should try to to schedule it until February 24th. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, Rocio. I want to make sure that I'm communicating that in a clear manner.
Yes, you're more than welcome to look at your email and click on that compose email and look at it, make some changes to your template. But the actual scheduling piece, which is the very last piece, we'll highlight it again once we get to that slide, is what we're asking everyone to hold off on, just because our team is running through some further testing just to make sure for our programs that have a larger number of sites that everything is working properly. So they're still doing a lot of that now, and they want just to ensure that everything is good to go. So if you do meet with an exact member and you know the date and the time that you are sending out your mailing, you're more than welcome to let us know. And even if once we're done with all of the testing, we can take care of that piece for you of scheduling it out and ensuring that your emails are sent on that date and time. So if you'd like to get it out of the way and just know and rest assured that someone is sending those out, you can let your exact member know, or just wait until that date and then go ahead and schedule it through the system.
Thanks for clarifying that too. I appreciate that. So yeah, you are allowed to click this. It's not going to explode in your face. And I would recommend you at least look at the email and edit it if you need to. Sorry, I had to tell Alexa to stop talking. Okay. Oh, she didn't stop. Here we go. So let's go to the next slide. So this is where you're going to see something that says scheduling your emails. This is a great place if you're wanting to test the email to yourself as well. And this is actually a required step in order to get to the email template setup. So it will take you here. If you want to send it to Nettie, you can send it to Nettie, or you can override the recipient's email with your own email, and it will go to you instead. Make sure that if you do that, you don't have like 1,000 that, unless you really do want to receive all the emails to yourself. Another thing that's going to happen is whoever's logged in is going to see the reply to email. So this is the email that you are that if the person who receives the slot request clicks reply, it will go to them. You're able to also CC or BCC people if you wanted to. And one other thing you can do right here is attach anything. So once you do that, you'll click on the next button, and it will take you to the next page. This is where you're going to see the templates that are set up in Exact for the sorry guys, for the slot request. So there is one already in here. It will be called the standard template. If you have others that you've added, you can use this drop down to select one of those templates. If you haven't added a template yet and you want to set up a new one, you're going to click add template, and then you'll be able to create that new template for your slot request this year. So if you do click that, it will bring you to a page where you can set that up. The merge fields that are available are over here, and you'll use those to say, okay, well, I want it to go to a first name, or your last name or whatever. The communication title, again, is that's going to be that title of the communication that you set up on the very first part of the step-by-step process. And this is important if you would like your sites to be able to add slots directly into Exact. They will need this. You'll need to have this request link somewhere in the email. That's the very, very important step. Otherwise, they won't be able to give you slots through the system, and they'll reply back and say, hey, how do I give you slots? Because I want you to have everything. So that's what you'll do. Once you add a template, you'll be able to save it. But let's take a look at the preview. Oh, we won't look at the preview right now, but there's a preview button that takes you to the next page. We're going to go over a couple of other things about scheduling. So this is a close-up of what the verbiage in this particular email says, and of course it's got the request link right here. Feel free to use any part of this if you want. You'll have a hard time copying from this because it doesn't allow you to copy and paste. So if you really would like to use the verbiage that we've used here, go ahead and use this, um, and then you can edit it in any way that you'd like. The next, when you click the next button, it is going to take you to kind of this final preview page, and you have two options. Like if you're just trying to test it out, go ahead and you can send the email right now. And then if you'd like to schedule it for a future date, you can click on this to schedule for a future date, and you'll click schedule. Either way, when you click schedule, it's going to either set it up or it's going to send it out immediately, depending on which of these two that you have selected. And then you'll just say the date and time. The calendar will come up. You'll click on the calendar, and there'll be a clock that you can use to click on to set that up too. All right. So what are some of the next steps? Obviously, you'll be able to when you send out the email, you'll be able to see a dashboard of emails. So this, again, we were talking about how there was a little icon that would show up on the dashboard that's a darker gray after you've sent them. If you click on that, it's going to take you to this nice dashboard that shows you the total number of emails that were sent, the number of emails that failed, that were successful, that were not yet opened, and where the link was not clicked, as well as the ones that were linked were clicked. So this is a great little dashboard for you to see all that information if you needed to. And then the email itself will show up here. If you click on that, you can see what they received. So it actually opens up that email that they received. Little side note, if you want to see the landing page, you can also copy and paste this link to look at the landing page, but it will look to them as if they, it'll actually register on here as a link that was clicked. So just kind of note that that is true as well.
Going
Yes.
back a slide really quick, I just want to make sure here on this table, we are able to see that the site received the email successfully, and there are tallies up at the top that tell you that the email was delivered, but they never opened the link. And there is a differentiation now for they've read the email and they've actually clicked on the link. So you can see here from the emails I've sent, 2 people have clicked on that link, and there is a status column that shows you that they've clicked on that link. So that is now a possibility for you to see.
Mm-hmm. That had always been a question before. How do we know they opened it? We would say, well, you don't know necessarily unless they click the link. But now you can actually see if they've even opened the email. So that's definitely a nice thing to point out. Thanks, Rusty. Yep, there's that email again. Once those slots have been entered by your sites, or once they've responded to the slot request, this response report is going to load all the responses into a report that you can pull. You can also go to individual sites to check that out too. So depending on how you want to do it, you can see that. We also have some upcoming webinars for your next step. So we have one on March 3rd that talks about managing offered slots. You can register through the link that's here. We have those Thursday tips that are coming out. If you're not getting those, please let us know. Those Thursday tips are reminding you about important dates and deadlines, as well as key information about the March mailing. We also have some upcoming videos and help documents that you can use that will be in the Help Center. So that's all we've got for today. I want to thank you for everything and give you a chance to use the last few minutes, I know they're not many, to go ahead and ask any questions that you might have, or go over anything that you want to go over again.
We did have Amy who had a question regarding the email template. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute her so that she can let us know a few more details about her question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Amy.
Hi, thanks. Quick question. When you were showing the templates before with the emails, and then you saw on the right-hand side, it had like the email name and the person. We don't yet there. Under merge fields, do we have to put in that at first name, at last name, or does that automatically just get entered into that template based on us hitting all those selected items before?
You will have to, if you're creating a whole new template, you'll have to go in and add at first name, at last name, because not everybody uses the same merge fields. So this gives you just the opportunity to add those yourself, and it's pretty easy. You'll just click as soon as you start to type in @, it's going to give you a list of choices, and you'll just select that choice.
So if you were sitting here, I thought like the whole purpose of Exact, I thought, was to make it easier to send out these emails to, let's say you're sending out to 100 clinics, let's say, for several slots. So you can click that to go to their emails, but then you want to send something separately. You obviously are going to send a template to each one. So you're still kind of going in manually entering every single individual
No,
clinical.
no. I think that might be I might be communicating this wrong. So you're actually creating a merge field for the template, and it's going to go by your recipients list first name. So like if you said first name, it's going to say Dear Nettie when it gets to when it gets to that template and sends it out.
Ah.
So you're not going to have to say @Nettie McGuire
Oh,
@Aaron.
thank you. Yeah, that.
Right.
I'm
So
like,
that is,
oh,
yeah, totally. That would be completely ridiculous. We would never make it to that ever. Yeah, for sure. That would be awful.
that's
So
just
that's,
the
yeah,
format. Okay, so it
exactly. Yeah.
automatically.
So you do not have to enter everybody's name in. You'll just
Oh,
simply say the and it's literally you're saying and then you're selecting first name, but the system's going to pull that merge field in when it sends the email out to the site.
oh,
Um,
thank you. Phew,
sure.
sorry. Silly
No, I'm glad
question.
you asked that.
Thank you.
I'd be having a panic attack too if I thought I had to do that. It's like I don't even remember everybody's name. Like, how am I gonna do that? So yeah, definitely. That's the whole reason to select the recipients list before you get to this page. So thank you for
Thank
asking
you.
that. Sure.
Thanks,
Were
Amy.
there? Yeah. Were there
Uh,
any other questions?
yes, there was one more question about where exactly or what exactly do they have to wait until February 24th to do. So Beck, I'm not sure if you want to maybe go into the system. I do have it ready and pulled up if you'd like me to share my screen just so that we can walk.
Sure. Yeah, that would be great. Can you share your screen because I don't have
Yeah,
the system up right now?
yeah. 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
I don't know if
And
I need to do anything. I don't think I do, right?
no, I don't think so. Let me
Okay,
see.
cool.
Are you able to see the screen?
There we go. We can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to sites. Then we'll go to emails. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on send emails. And this is, yeah, you can go ahead and do this today, tomorrow. There is no problem with you going and selecting your recipients. And then you can go ahead and click save and next. And so you can go ahead and compose your email. We definitely recommend you to look at the template just because our standard template has some outdated verbiage. So when I click on the next button here, this is a template that you would see. This is our standard template. And you can see as I scroll through, there's like year 2022. And of course, the one that you're sending is 2023. So you might want to create a new template. And I'm just going to show that really quick. And I'll call this like new slot request template. I'll give my subject title here. We'll call that Exact University slot request 2023, and then you'll add in your content here. So here, if I wanted the slot request configuration name to appear on my email, I'll go ahead and add in my communication title. And as soon as I add in that @ symbol, it does give me all of the merge field options. So then I'll say hello @first name, comma, and then move on with my template. So that's something that you can do to craft that. So you can do this now, you can do this today, tomorrow, whenever you'd like. But once you decide which email you are sending, you'll go ahead and click on preview. And this is the step we want everyone to hold off on until February 24th. If you're sending yourself a sample email, sorry about that. If you're sending yourself a sample email, you can definitely do that now. But if you're trying to schedule your email for March 1st, this is a step we want everyone to hold off on until the 24th. So if you are meeting with an Exact member, would definitely recommend you let them know the day and time that you'd like your emails to go out. That way we can take care of that for you. Otherwise, you can go ahead and wait until then to schedule that. But this is the only piece you have to hold off on for now. Everything else is ready for you to use. Does that make sense? Any questions? Let me go back
I
to,
think looks like that everybody's okay. I think there was a question. Hold on 1 second. I lost my questions. Oh, okay, that was the question you just answered by Susan about when it was okay to do it. So okay,
Perfect.
I don't see any new questions since then, Rocio.
Okay.
If
Awesome.
anybody has any last questions they want to ask us before we end the webinar, they can. Otherwise, if you haven't done your one-on-one yet, you can definitely ask about it then. You can also schedule a one-on-one with your CSS or CSR or your exact team member when you're ready to do that.
For sure. Awesome. So feel free to make sure to grab the handout on your way out if you haven't already. If you are not able to get those, you will be receiving a follow-up email in about an hour. That's the soonest GoToWebinar can actually send those out, but you will be receiving an email with the recording of today's webinar and the most up-to-date presentation slides as well. If you don't have the ability to catch those handouts, that will be sent to you within the hour as well as the recording. All right. Well, thank
All
you
right.
everyone for joining us today,
Yeah,
and
thanks
we'll see.
everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you either one-on-one or at the next webinar on March 3rd.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.